This is a video on hand felting, and we're going to turn this knitted fabric into this felted fabric. And this is the felted James slipper, and the pattern links are in the description. The equipment you'll need is either some dish soap, just a normal soap, I've got an olive oil soap, 1 or 2 pairs of rubber gloves. I like to use 2, just it gives me more heat protection from the heat. I've got a jug of cold water. I've got a container full of cold water, which will be our cold plunge, and I have another container which we're going to put our hot water in, and I've got a kettle of freshly boiled hot water sat next to me. So I'm going to fill it with a little bit of cold water first, so it's not boiling hot. I'm going to add some of my dish soap, and fill it up with hot water. So I'll take our knitted fabric and I'm going to soak that in the hot water. So each fibre is covered in microscopic cuticle scales, and under normal conditions these sit flat, but when we add heat and moisture, the keratin softens and the cuticles lift. And when we agitate the fibres and the fabrics move across each other, these cuticles catch on to each other and kind of lock together. And over time, kind of what is the knitted loops, they will kind of form together like a felted matrix. And when we cool it down again, they will be locked. The interlocked cuticles will lock in place. Because once the knitted fabric is ready to felt, there are 3 variables we can control. There's agitation, so how much movement and pressure and friction we apply. There's heat. This is the bit that softens the keratin and increases the fibre mobility, and pH, and this increases fibre swelling and how readily the cuticle scales lift. So I am wearing 2 layers of rubber gloves because that enables me to have the water a bit higher temperature. I'm not quite sure of the temperature. I've got boiling hot water in here and probably about 20% cold water. I'm using a dish soap instead of like a fabric wool soap, because a dish soap has a higher pH. This has a pH of about 9 apparently, and a slightly alkaline conditions just makes the felting, it speeds it up. A wool wash has a lower pH because when you're washing your knitted fabric you don't want it to felt, so that's why they keep the pH lower. Although I will still use a wool wash when I felt in the machine because I'm a bit nervous about putting dishwasher in my washing machine. Okay, so if we get started with the felting process. So I've got my soap in here and we want to start agitating. So I always start with the ankle. So dunk it in the water and then just kind of gently rub. Keep dunking. So keeping the water really hot and going around, moving your hands around the knitted fabric. And so you want to move in this direction, move in this direction. You want to move direction as often as possible. So I start at one side of the ankle and I will move all the way around. I will take longer on each piece than this, this is just to show what I do. Once I've done the ankle, I will then have a go at the foot. So I will rub like this, move along to another piece and just keep rotating. Each time, every few seconds, I will keep dunking in the water. So just keep dunking and rubbing, dunking and rubbing. Then I will rub the cables across this way, so changing the direction of the rubbing. One place to really take notice of is the toe area, because that can easily get missed. So make sure you focus on that area. It's also a weak point when you wear your shoe, so you want to make sure that area is nicely felted. So take the point and just rub each direction. Keep rubbing. If you find agitating with your hands is hard on your hands, you can get a wooden spoon. I kind of put it inside the shoe and you just kind of keep swishing it around the water like this, and this kind of mimics, as close as you can get to mimicking the technique of a top load washing machine. Okay, I'm going to carry on doing this for about 3 to 4 minutes, just working my way all over the shoe, and then we'll go to the next step. Okay, I've been agitating in hot water now for about 5 minutes, and you can see the shoe has already started to shrink slightly, and if you look closely, if you compare the textures, the stitch definition is slightly disappearing. Okay, so now I've done this for 5 minutes, I'm going to do a cold plunge into our bowl here. So when you do the cold plunge, the cuticles will lie flat again, and that's when they lock in. So I'm also going to keep rubbing. I'll do that for about 30 seconds. Squeeze out as much water as I can. And go back to my hot plunge. And I will keep alternating about 3 to 4 minutes of a hot plunge and then a cold plunge, and I'll keep checking my size I will measure the length with a tape measure. So I've done 2 cycles of hot agitation and cold dip, and I'm just going to measure mine now. So it needs to be 23 centimetres. I'll just fold it flat and lay that on. So I'm at about 23 centimetres now, so I'm going to stop the felting in the hot water. And I have a choice. I can just carry on, I can get rid of all the dish soap in the cold water plunge and just keep rinsing it until it's clear. What I actually like to do is put it in my washing machine on a 20-minute cold rinse. That will felt it a little bit more, so it will go under that 23, but I will bring it back up to 23 in the blocking process. And there is a separate video on how I'm going to block this shoe, and that will be in the description below. And just quickly, if we take a look at, here's our felted shoe, and you can see the difference. So the stitch definition has gone, and it's starting to look like a solid fabric, but we haven't felted it past the place where the cables disappear, so you can still clearly see the cables. So this is the stage that we want to get to. I've put the slipper through a cold rinse on the washing machine now. I'll just measure it just to check. So it's about 22.5 centimetres now. So I've lost about half a centimetre doing the cold rinse, and now I'm going to block it, and that will bring it back up to the 23. And so you can see we've still got cable definition, but we've got this really beautiful, thick, sturdy, kind of felted fabric. Different yarns will felt at different rates. The James felted slipper is designed using drop snow, and that felts quite quickly. Using really hot water, I can get from this knitted fabric to this felted fabric in about 10-15 minutes. That is if the water is really hot. If the water is not quite so hot, it will take me maybe 20 minutes. Using a yarn like Aula Salopi, it takes about twice as long, but it is worth it because the fabric is really, really beautiful once you get there. Lots of hot and cold shocks, I think, helps this yarn felt a little bit quicker. Thanks very much for watching.